Hey!
Welcome to the show.
Thanks. I appreciate it. I enjoy getting to join you here and now. I have so many things I want to start with. So much has happened.
I don't have a whole lot.
Your mind is a complete blank.
My mind is very tired.
Yeah, from what?
Mainly just work.
Oh yeah.
We're doing really good now.
Well, that's good to hear.
We are.
You're managing your call volumes.
My team is just kicking butt, and we got a bunch of people in, and they're helping, and so we're doing much better. But oh boy, am I tired! You know what? This is really boring radio. Let's skip. Let's skip to something good. Not talk about how I'm tired about work.
Okay, so,
everyone's tired about work.
Yeah, no joke. They're trying to get a break from their work by listening to you complain about how tired you are about work. Oh, my work is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't do this full time.
Yet.
But
Let's spin the wheel of what you're looking at. Just spin it.
Okay.
What did it land on?
Okay, so first it landed on the fact that Joe Biden and Donald Trump are trolling each other by buying websites. Yeah,
that's an awesome way to troll.
Right. So if you go
to
Keep America Great, it is actually a site that's owned by Joe Biden that he's using to troll Donald Trump. Whereas if you go to youaintblack.com, it is a site that Trump is using to troll. It's actually the black voices for Trump.
I just checked it out. Youaintblack.com.
Yep,
youaintblack.com. Text woke to 88022.
Yeah, so there you go.
Black voices for Trump.
And there's that. A new Biden campaign has blamed President Trump for the cancellation of sports because of COVID-19. That and because of the civil unrest, which I think has been very interesting. So yeah, political ads. I
love the website thing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think how I could weaponize a website the same way.
Kyle's Bad Bathroom.
Yeah. There you go. Perfect.
We nailed it. First try even.
$20.
Yep.
We'll own the URL after this.
Yeah. Do you know? So I don't know how many of you guys are fans of America's favorite radio station, Sports Radio 96.7 and 1310, The Ticket. But we kind of grew up on it a little bit.
You really got me into it. My dad was a huge fan.
Right. A P1, if you will.
Yeah, and he had the book, the Unticket. No.
Full Disclosure.
Full Disclosure. He had that.
I have a signed copy.
I grew up seeing that, on his bookshelf.
Yeah.
But I didn't really start listening to it until you were a big fan of it.
Right.
And you wouldn't shut up about it.
Well, I was a day one P1. I was stuck in my dad's car as a kid listening to it. And the reason I bring it up in this, it was great, wonderful education. My mom was real proud of him for that.
Yeah, there's sometimes my wife wouldn't be super thrilled. And, I'd have my kid in the car and she'd go, turn that off.
Yep.
Turn that off, please.
Yeah. Your options are zero. Turn off the radio.
Yeah.
So Gordon Keith bought a lot of the domains for the other guys on the station.
Okay, so like Bad Radio. And
like he owned Bad Radio and bobanddan.com.
Sweet. Good for him. Good thinking.
So they were like, when they wanted it to start their website, he was like, I mean, you can use it. They're like, what? Can you we'll buy it from you? He's like, nah.
Yeah.
I don't really want to sell it, but you can use it. Yeah, I don't mind if you use it, but yeah, I'm not going to sell it to you.
That's so gloriously mischievous.
Oh, it's so Gordo. But I think with all of this stuff that fits in as absolutely hysterical.
I wonder if he owns MikeReiner.com.
Probably. Not that Reiner cares.
I mean, if you have expendable income,
right?
Those are the kind of things that I would probably do if I ever get to that point where I'm just like sitting on some money and take $500 and just go buy some websites.
Take $500 and troll all your friends.
Yeah.
Like to own all of theirnames.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I own
pretty funny.
4 URLs at the moment, and I have been told to stop buying URLs.
Your wife is mandating that you stop purchasing URLs?
She told me to, or we talked about it, and she was like, how many do we own? I was like, 4. She's like, we're spending money. I was like, it's not that much. It's really, like, it sounds scary, but it's really not. And then after that, she was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's less than what she spends when she goes to get a drink at Sonic.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a year to have a website. Yeah.
Yeah, you can get them for $20 or $10 or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Less than a Starbucks trip.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of, my wife found the perfect birthday present for me and went ahead and got it 3 months early.
Good for her.
Yeah.
What is it? Do you
She
know what
found,
it is?
Oh yeah, we're using it already at the
Okay.
house. So I got an espresso machine.
Awesome.
I know. I'm so excited about it.
What
So,
kind? A
it's
Nespresso?
No, it's a Breville.
Okay.
So, and it's really nice. It's got the single and the double. It's got its own steam wand. It's great.
Did I overhear half of that conversation? Because I heard you say something. You're like, how much is it?
Yeah.
That's really good.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You're like, yeah, go and get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
Okay.
she had
I had wondered. I was
yeah,
like,
so
what,
she
what
had
is
a
it?
like $100 off coupon for whatever store she got it from, and then
Those are the
another
best.
like percentage off of that. And so she applied the coupons in reverse order, because on the website when you buy it, they apply the first coupon that you purchase at that particular store. So she went ahead and applied the 20% off first, and then
Good
hit him with the
job.
$100. Yeah, it's great to be married to a math person.
Yeah,
Because I'm like, yeah, put them both on there. And she's like, no, there's an order to this.
there is.
We're going to maximize our savings.
That's
Sure
one
enough,
that
we
I
did.
probably would have overlooked. I would have been like, just put them on there. Let's get it. Go,
Yeah, let's
I
go.
need
Yeah,
I
we
need it
can
right
take-
now. Just order
Right.
it.
Yeah, and so I think instead of saving, it's a very expensive coffee machine. So instead of saving like $180, we ended up saving like $220 because she did that. Which I in turn was like, so if you were going to spend that much money on my birthday anyway, what do I get to buy with the $40 that we saved?
Yeah,
in
that's
this
not
other?
how it works.
That's not how it works. So
So does this one use like? I'm assuming it does not use little pods. It uses
no, yeah, it's a full on espresso machine,
Okay.
similar to the one that you have.
sweet.
Right.
Except
the only
it
thing
works
that it
better.
doesn't have is a grinder. So I've got to grind it, which I already have a grinder. So I grind the beans and
That's
then
awesome.
pump them in there, and they're good to go.
By the way,
you
I
pointed at me.
finally got
Yeah, talk
the
to me.
espresso machine to work pretty well. This
Yeah?
last Sunday, I hosted brunch,
Oh my gosh.
and I got a real nice bean
You're
from
such
Italy.
a suburbanite.
I know.
Listen.
Look,
I hosted brunch.
I'm just telling the truth. It was a brunch.
Did you have orange juice
It was-
and flutes?
Yep.
Oh
Yep.
my gosh.
It was
Who
awesome.
are you?
I'm not really I'm not a breakfast guy either.
Oh. Yeah.
I love bacon, but that's the only thing that I care about breakfast. I don't really care about eggs.
Sure.
Eggs are fine.
What about eggs?
But I don't want to celebrate it.
Right.
Lunch is able to be celebrated. Like today, I had a Philly cheesesteak sandwich.
Yeah,
it was
with your
awesome.
son.
Yeah, it was
I got
awesome.
hung up on
and
it
I had
because you wanted to spend time with your kid. How dare you?
and onion rings. That
Philly
that
cheesesteak
is
and
a
onion rings?
meal.
Yeah, that's good.
That's a meal worth celebrating.
Solid. I'll agree with that.
Scrambled eggs and sausage. It's just it's boring. But we had pancakes.
Unless you know how to really scramble the eggs.
I scrambled the crap out of them. No, I like fried eggs better. But
Okay, there you go.
but anyways, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And so, long story short, this
Mhm.
this espresso machine finally got it. I just needed the right roast,
Yeah,
and I think the right grind.
yeah. The grind size is everything when it comes to those espresso
Yeah.
machines.
But I tried all kinds of different ones with the.
And especially yours, because yours is like super high end. Like your espresso machine belongs in a coffee shop. It does not
Yeah,
belong in
I agree. In my house, it does
in
not.
a home.
It does not
Right.
belong in my house.
But it's making phenomenal coffees.
Yeah, it was
So
really good. It was a
yeah.
hit.
That's what
I
counts.
probably the only downside is I got to do one shot at a time,
right.
You know, and then you got to go reset. I got to go dump out.
You know what
the,
you need? You need to go online and get some espresso cups. They make them. They're tiny little. They're shot glasses.
Oh, okay, yeah.
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 So they're tiny little shot glasses, and they have a
I do
line
need
on
that.
them because it shows you how much an actual shot of espresso is supposed to be. So that whenever you do the double, and you pull. Because you actually have to press yours,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So when you
But it
pull,
has the double, the little,
right, and the two.
the two on the sides. Yeah.
So when you pull the double, you just put the two glasses beside each other, and it'll let you know whether or not it's pulling shots evenly, because that's a really important thing to let you know whether or not you're packing the pod properly. So
Mhm.
anyway,
I'm getting there. It was not perfect, but it was the closest ever with a pretty good amount of cream. Right.
right?
That's what it's
Yeah,
called.
yeah.
So yeah,
if
that
you're-
was for Chris and Vicky's shower.
Oh,
Not
nice.
shower. It was a craft. It was a crafting day for the wedding. I know. I'm just getting further down into the suburban dad thing, but I actually
I am so glad
I did help
my
a little
wife and
bit.
I had a COVID wedding. We didn't have
I
a
know.
crafting day.
I know.
We didn't have a big huge to do for couples or anything. No.
This one, I would
We
agree.
planned like 4 weddings in a week, and we were like, we're doing this outside with everybody in their cars, and if you want to come, watch it on Facebook. We're getting freaking married.
Yeah,
and
it was awesome.
That's actually what she said. We're freaking married. It's like one of the cutest things ever.
Yeah, it was awesome. But okay, so keep telling me about your espresso machine.
Well, it's different than yours because it doesn't have the pull handle. It pulls just a straight shot. But what I was saying about the cups is if they're pulling like that, then actually what most people want is a single shot of something. They just think that they want a double because they hear so many people order it.
Yeah.
Because
for me, it saves time because I'll get 2 and then I can make the 2 drinks.
Right. Well, what we need is a place that could make coffee with multiple espresso shots at a time where you could just come through and order it and just not even leave your car. That would be great if a place like that existed.
Like drive-through at Starbucks?
Oh, there we go. Yep. There's one on every freaking corner.
Yeah.
That's the biggest pushback that I get from people. But I'm like, oh, you know what? You can come over to my house. I'll make you coffee. And they're like, why would I want that?
No, I will back you up on that.
It's your different experience.
Your coffee is much different, especially having we've talked about this before. But
the coffee flights.
The one being from your 19 different methods.
Yeah, from the different methods.
They taste different. But it's all the same. It comes from the same source.
Right. Yeah,
which is your obsessive brain.
Yeah, and I don't want to get super stuck on that. So, but thanks, Kay. Love you, honey. Thank you for the espresso machine. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I will have some on my birthday and say, "Huh, look at that! Happy birthday, me!"
Sweet.
So
I'm gonna have some at some point.
I have my here's some stuff that I like for today. And it is a new website that is a vehicle of both Seth Dillon and Adam Ford. And if you've been listening to our show for any amount of time, you know that we're both Seth Dillon and Adam Ford fans because we like the Babylon Bee, which Adam Ford started and Seth Dillon purchased. We really enjoy the Discern news aggregate. And so they have a new news outlet called Not the Bee.
Okay, so it's legit stories that are insane that you think are
that's exactly
parody.
Right. So it's real news stories that they write, and they don't even write satirically. They're just writing real news stories in a way that's funny. So imagine if a group of comedians got around and talked about the news, and that's what it is. So it's not satire. It's sort of that gap between satire and real news where, the funny guy at the water cooler, his versions of the conversation. So it's actually I read a couple of articles from it today. I'm not a subscriber to that yet.
I'm looking at it now.
Yeah, I'm not a subscriber there yet. I want to see sort of where this goes. That and I got a little of my monthly subscription allowance taken from me this month as I threw a little extra at the Babylon Bee, because of all of the nonsense that they had to face with Twitter. But it's cool. It's interesting. They've got some cool stories on there. It's something that I'm paying attention to. I want to support what these guys are doing, especially because everything they've done so far has been really great. That doesn't mean that it's going to be a home run every time. Of the 3 outlets they've got, this is the one that I'm the most skeptical about. But it's sort of in the vein of the Adam Ford newsletter, which was news told in a humorous way. And instead of we're on Discern, they are pretty straightforward about how they break down the news. On the Not the Bee site, they are not. They break down in humorous critiques and in tearing apart each and everything. And they said that this is something that's been in the works for a while, but it specifically got a lot of traction this week because they made the official announcement. Actually today, so we're recording this on a Friday, so they made the official announcement today on Friday, August the 28th, that Not the Bee was launching. But also, they have keyed in on a couple of really interesting news stories, not the least of which being CNN's wonderful and very confusing picture of a on-the-scene reporter who has what looks like, it's a 3M mask. It's like a mask that you're going to use if you're going to paint a room with one of those paint sprayers. It's a respirator mask. Okay. So he's wearing a respirator mask around his neck. He's got on a hat with goggles. He's got on a backpack. He looks like he should be reporting an on-the-scene reporter from Iraq from the early 2000s.
Okay.
On top of just the way he's dressed.
Like he's Brian Williams, who's just shot down out of a helicopter.
Exactly. And on top of it, not just the way he's dressed makes you think that, but in the background, it's a hellscape. Everything's on fire.
Yeah.
And the little crawl down at the bottom says, fiery but mostly peaceful protest.
Yeah. Everything's fine.
Yeah. The Everything's Fine dog made an appearance in that same shot. They photoshopped him out of there.
So my thought when I saw that was it reminded me of Naked Gun.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Okay.
So Leslie Nielsen is chasing this doctor who had been mind controlled, and he's trying to catch this doctor, and the doctor is on a missile. And then he's in a car and he crashes through a missile factory. It's a very cartoony movie.
Oh yeah, no
and
doubt.
then now the doctor's on the missile,
and it had
the
OJ
missile,
in it.
yeah, and the missile's going, and then it starts going into a fireworks store, and crashes in the fireworks store. As you can imagine, a missile crashing in a fireworks store. A lot of explosions, big colors and explosions and pops
just
and
makes
sounds.
Me cringe because of current events.
Yeah, but so that happens. Leslie Nielsen pulls up, puts the car in park, gets out, and there's a crowd of people looking at this amazing spectacle. And he goes, "There's nothing to see here. Go home. Nothing to see here." And as more is exploding and people are falling from the sky, and that I when I thought of that, I was like, that's exactly what it seems like some of the mainstream media is doing. Of going,
oh yeah,
everything's fine. Don't pay attention. This is a peaceful. Have you looked in the background of what you're saying is a peaceful protest with the fires and the?
We might actually use that as the background, like on the green screens. Yeah, we'll just put them.
Let's do it.
What's mostly peaceful protest happening behind us.
But I think go watch it. And
I'll have to check it out
sometime this weekend or whatever. Go check it out.
Yeah.
It'll be you'll go. Oh my gosh, that's exactly what's going on. It's been a while since I've seen
any of the Naked Gun movies. Like I remember liking them as a kid.
I love Leslie Nielsen,
but I haven't really watched any of them since.
Leslie Nielsen is my leader.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. R.I.P.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I think he's a good. I always enjoyed his brand of really stupid humor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was awesome.
So yeah, that's my stuff that's good this week, and it
something you like.
Yeah, here's some stuff that I like, and it launched today. I read a couple of articles, I enjoyed them. Not ready to subscribe yet, but I know that if I don't subscribe soon, then I'm never going to be able to wear one of the crowns for the points leaders because those guys are hawks.
So what is that? You have to subscribe early and then you get a...
Okay, so on all of those sites, if you're a subscriber, you get to comment. If you don't subscribe, you don't get to participate in the comments.
Okay, I got it.
And the guys that are the top 3 posters have a gold crown, a silver crown, and a bronze crown. And you get points. So you get so many points for every time you post, or for every time somebody likes something that you post, or they reply on it, or you reply on somebody else's post. So
that's a great idea.
You get points for interaction. Now, currently you can't spend the points for anything, but there's rumors that might happen somewhere down the road. But there's a couple of guys on Discern that have 1 million points already, and this is something that didn't launch until the beginning of 2020. Now, I've been a member for a little while, and I'm in the 100K club, but... No, like it has taken. I just wanted to see like what it would take to get 100,000 points. Way too much effort.
Yeah,
you have to comment on everything in order to get the amount of stuff. And then once people start recognizing you in the comments, they'll like give you little shout outs or comment on your things, or they'll give you like courtesy likes because they see that you're moving up, or make comments like, "Hey, getting close to 100,000." I'm like, all right. So the community is kind of cool, but also they realize if you continually comment in the same style or use a certain type of phrasing or something like that, they start to call you out on what they believe your sort of leanings and stuff is.
They go, here's
here
right,
we go. Yep,
Pastor P.
Yeah, actually, well, I'm not going to give away my name, but it's close enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just thought it's Reverend P. I'll go ahead. Yeah, Reverend P on all that stuff. So if you see that, it's me commenting, and if you're a jerk and comment on it, then that's
so
fine.
To get to 1 million points, it does feel like
this one guy comments, like he replies to his own comments because it gives you 1,000 character limit.
That's what I was about to say.
Yes,
you're either cutting some corners, or you're like that guy from Make Love Not Warcraft, the South Park episode.
Yes.
He's like, he's killing everyone in the world of Warcraft. This guy must have absolutely no life.
Yep, pretty much. Yeah. I feel like the point leader, his name's Joel. I think Joel's got a life.
He's just probably loaded. He's
but
like,
I think he's
parlaying. This is what I want to do.
Well, I think he's parlaying his commentary into a career because they've actually hired him on as a writer because of how often he had like long but very thought out and really good stuff to say in the comments. So
well, good for him.
Like that was interesting. Yeah, and he's
a success story for people.
Yes,
wanting to
for the rest of the plebs. Yeah. And he's writing for Not the Bee also.
Cool.
Yeah. So he's one of the initial writers for Not the Bee. He's no Frank Fleming, but I do find him rather entertaining.
Well, hey, I've got something I like this week.
Yeah. Here's some stuff that you like. Go for it.
Yeah. G.K. Chesterton.
Yeah. Talk to me about that.
Is I think my new favorite author. I am finding it difficult to translate it, maybe.
Yeah.
Not really for me, but to like so this is what happens. I'm sitting in bed reading, right, and I'm sitting here giggling,
right, because the dude's funny.
Yeah, and then so for some context, it was 1930s, right?
Turn of the century. So okay. I think his first published stuff was like maybe like 1910ish. It could be before that though. And then and he was published on into the 30s. Yep.
But so that gives a little bit of context into how it's difficult to
just interpret.
Yeah, because I can give a summary of it, but it's not going to capture like why it was funny. Because why it was funny was how he said it and some of the snarky ways. So if I just read that one line, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So you really got to read like that whole essay.
Yeah.
And then, like, I tried it with Heather, and I was just like, I got like 3 or 4 sentences, and I'm just like, this is not going to work.
Nope, you are not going to find this.
And it wasn't her. She was going, it's okay if you want to read it. I'm like, I just never mind.
Right.
I'm going to keep reading what I was reading, but
like he's got some great one-liners.
I read In Defense of Skeletons.
Yes,
and
which is the second essay in the book, right?
Yeah. So I read through. I'm just saying I read through a couple. That one was one of my favorites at the beginning, and I started Cheese. I haven't finished it.
Oh, Cheese is one of my favorites.
Yeah, that was the one. It's on page 103. That's how I know because I'm gonna go find it, flip through. So that'll be tonight. I'll probably read that.
I think that's one of the first lines in there is that poets have been mysteriously silent on the subject of cheese.
Yeah.
It's like, what in the world?
It's just the perfect amount of nonsense. But then he also brings it home with, he'll explain something.
Yeah. Yeah, like the skeleton.
Something that he likes.
So tell our audience what the skeleton one was about. In Defense of Skeletons is about what? Because it sounds like a very odd title.
Yeah. So he started out by saying that he would go to, I think it was in New England. No, it wasn't New England. It was in London somewhere. And people would constantly be apologizing for the state of the trees in the winter.
Right.
And he had said, I've been through many winters before and I know what to expect of it. And just, I love the line of, he said something about when Old Man Winter goes to scrape across the land in the winter.
Right.
And
like a razor.
Leaving everything like a shaved monk. But his point to all of that was that the beauty of trees is not the leaves, it's the skeleton. It's the whole, it's what holds everything up. That was kind of what I took from it.
Yeah.
And then
because the leaves block the view.
Yeah. And it blocks the view of the let's see, bringing it home. There's a lot of thoughts in there that I really enjoyed.
Right.
But then he talks about the human skeleton. How underneath everything we've got this smiling skeleton. It's a little bit of a dark thought, but he was making it very humorous with the eventually everything fades.
Right.
And oh man, I lost his point.
Well,
but what did you get from it?
So it's that not only does eventually everything fade, but like the thing that is most us
is a skeleton.
Is a skeleton because it's the thing that holds all of us together.
He said, hold on. He said, people aren't actually afraid of death. It's being undignified.
Yeah.
That was what he said.
I really
liked
true.
that. Yeah, I really liked that.
Yeah, he's really brilliant and obviously a great philosophical writer. His early stuff came out in the early 1900s with his first published book, his notable works, is Napoleon of Notting Hill. So one of the reasons that Napoleon of Notting Hill is so well known is because Napoleon of Notting Hill takes place during the year 1984. And the rumor is that when Orwell wrote his book 1984, the reason he placed it in the year 1984 is because of Napoleon of Notting Hill. And the idea behind the book Napoleon of Notting Hill is that the world has no more borders, everything is free. They just pick a king at random, and the guy that they pick is this guy named Napoleon. And I'm fascinated by it. This is a book that I intend to read shortly, and because the idea is a bit ridiculous. And so they pick this guy as king, and now all these cities are starting to put borders back up, and they have these hilarious kind of fight scenes. And they talk about how many battles there are in this book, that like it's every few pages there's another war that happens in Napoleon of Notting Hill. But they're these ridiculous wars because the people haven't fought in 100 years. Like there hasn't even been a fist fight or a violent altercation, so they don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And they all are pretty terrible at it. And so the way that he describes some of those things, but that is, supposedly the way that that Orwell got his time period for 1984, which I
That's
think
cool.
is pretty neat.
I hadn't heard of G.K. Chesterton. Maybe he's like this. I mean, is he a major author that everyone knows about?
So if you're into turn of the century stuff, yeah, maybe.
So probably not then.
Yeah, probably not. He's not taught on a lot of philosophy classes, though his contemporaries are. And what's so interesting is like the guys that he talks about in his essays that are his good friends are also the guys that he debated. And where you'll find Chesterton probably most well known is in like Christian theological circles, because a lot of what he talks about is like Christian philosophy, and he was somebody that inspired both Tolkien and Lewis with some of his early writings, and though towards the end they were kind of contemporaries, as Chesterton was towards the end of his life, and those guys were still like right in the midst of writing their best stuff. Not that he wasn't; he was just working on congestive heart failure. So because he was a big guy, so very heavy set, and there's one recording of him that's out there. He's got kind of a weird screechy voice, but he's really, from the way that everybody describes him,
sounds
and
like
the way that
Print
he's
is the right way for him to have gone.
Yeah, but he supposedly, everybody says he was super funny, that he was fun to be around. He was always smoking cigars and wanted to like have a good time. And so when you read the interactions that he has, like in Cheese, where he talks about kind of berating this this poor waiter, so he's like, how dare you give me crackers with my cheese? Cheese is meant to be put on bread. And so he has like this whole thing about how, the waiter doesn't know his rear end from a hole in the ground, essentially, because he doesn't know how you're supposed to serve cheese. Well, in interactions like that, supposedly he was a very charming guy, that he would never have said as forcefully as he writes those things.
He would have said it very fun. He probably would have had the guy laughing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I gotta say, as I'm reading all of these, I'm kind of thinking like, this guy, maybe I was him in a previous life, or so to speak. Like we are common kindred souls, I would say, kindred spirits.
Yeah, no doubt. And there's part of me that really wants to be able to write like this.
Yeah.
But I also know that I can't pull it off.
You could. I think you could.
I think his voice is so unique. And one of the things that, especially in the book that we got, which is In Defense of Sanity, and it's a compilation of his works, is that, the art of the essay is lost.
Yeah, I read that in the foreword.
Yeah, because there are...
I only read like the first few sentences of the foreword, but that was in there. I read it.
One of them. So a lot of his stuff is between 3 and 5 pages, and then it's on to the next thing. And he sort of exhausts
That's just
the
my
idea.
game.
Right. It really is. It's pretty awesome. So he didn't need to write an entire book in order to make a point. And most of his books, like the Father Brown mysteries, are all really great mystery novels.
Father Brown? He wrote that?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's a series on BBC, something like that.
Oh, yeah. Father Brown mysteries. That's G.K. Chesterton.
I haven't watched that, but Netflix keeps telling me to.
That you need to? Yeah.
It's like,
that's
you really should check out Father Brown.
that's-
Everything that you're selecting tells me
Father Brown.
you need to go see this.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to. Now I'm going to, now that I know that you brought
Now
it
you
up.
know. Now that you know it's Chesterton.
Yeah.
Like, this could be funny.
Maybe there's something to this Netflix algorithm.
in a weird British sort of way.
Yeah.
I hate that they've gone to the thumbs up, thumbs down. Have you noticed that? So Netflix used to have like the 5-star rating, and then you could pick something based on rating, and now it's on percentage of match. And so now the algorithm is based on like.
But I don't do that. I don't think I actually I select good or bad. It's just what I'm selecting is what I figured they were tracking.
So it moves into like if you liked this movie, here are what other people who watched this movie or liked this movie saw. But there's also some kind of weird thing that it does with a series. So like if you end up watching like 3 seasons of a series, then it's like, oh, they like this series. We need to pick more stuff that's like this.
It probably thinks I really
genres.
like The Office because we've watched it like 100 times.
Yeah, so you probably get recommended Parks and Rec a lot. And
yeah, we've watched.
Sure, and the British Office. Right now, I'm getting recommended a lot of stuff that I have no interest in because
you're married now.
Yep.
It's the same problem I have with YouTube that I didn't want my son to have unfettered access to YouTube.
Right.
So he uses mine.
So now,
and I can
now Blippi
see,
pops up on all your stuff.
Yeah, now it's just like I need a new YouTube channel or I need a new YouTube profile now because it's Moose and Dude Perfect, and Moose is a gamer.
Yeah. At least it's not PewDiePie.
He doesn't. I don't think he cares for PewDiePie.
Okay, good.
Preston Plays is a big one that he likes.
Yeah.
And he loves YouTube.
So I want to know where this shift happened with kids. And maybe it's our fault. So
for fighting to make video games be a good thing?
No, not that. Because we're older brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So how many times were your younger siblings
all the time
sitting in the room watching you play video games?
I got in trouble a lot for that.
Right, so that's why I'm wondering if part of this isn't our fault.
One time I took some games to sell, and some of them were Joyas.
Oh, no.
And I got a game that I wanted to play, and I got in trouble for it. And I said, well, she never plays it.
Right, yeah.
And then, of course, it was, well, you're always playing. Like, okay. Now looking back, that's kind of a...
There's a total...
But I think really it was a game that I bought that she liked. And that was the problem.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if I was gonna justify taking my little sister's games and selling it, that's what I would. That's the defense that I would.
Well,
use.
to get revenge,
really,
my mom sold my Nintendo 64.
Whoa.
Yeah. This is really after I'd stopped playing it.
This is not cool.
I know.
That's what
I
this
agree.
is. Majin, you're on
that
notice.
That was my favorite platform. It still might be.
Oh yeah, the N64 was great. It revolutionized gaming,
especially with Diddy Kong Racing, which was so much fun. It was so stupid, but
the hovercrafts.
Yeah, mm-hmm. GoldenEye.
Yep.
Super Smash Brothers.
Genius.
There's at least those
Super
two.
Mario
those
64 was great.
Yeah, that one too.
Yeah.
I would play that now if I had it.
We had Clay Fighters 63 and a third, and that was one of my favorite games.
There was a lot of fun. There was a racing game too. It reminded me of that. It was
Cruise in the USA.
No, it's
that was
you were able
to
fight
in the racing game. Not Road Rash.
No,
that was a computer game where you could ride on motorcycles and then just smash your opponents with crowbars and chains and all sorts of stuff. It wasn't Road Rash. I'm trying to think of what other Twisted Metal was on PS1.
Vigilante 8. Yeah, I pulled it up.
Naturally.
It was so much fun.
Yeah, I know.
Because each car had a superpower. Like there was a van that had a satellite, and when you leveled up, and you're smashing into your friends the whole time, they have guns on them.
It's
cool. This big open world map. I mean, I say big. It was a Nintendo 64.
Sure.
So
big enough.
Factor that in.
Well, do you remember like the pyramid level on 007?
Mm-hmm.
That had like 3 different levels. Yeah. You could go without seeing somebody for like 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah. And then you could find the laser.
Yep. That was that was amazing.
Yeah.
So
the Moonraker laser.
Yeah, the Moonraker
and Jaws
laser.
chases you. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Jaws.
Do you remember that? The end of that hallway?
It's a whole creepy thing.
Yeah, I would go to the hallway, and anyone that's played GoldenEye probably knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You'd go to this hallway, and eventually you'd get far enough down that it would spawn Jaws, who is a famous Bond villain, and he's invincible.
Yeah,
you know, he's mostly invincible. He's some invincible.
Yeah,
but eventually you spawn him. He just starts running at you, and you're running backwards, just shooting him over and over and over and over and over. Fast forward 5 minutes, you might kill him, or he kills you. Or if you find the Moonraker laser, or you do the cheat where you get the golden gun, you can knock him out.
All of those very viable options.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Nintendo 64, man.
There was a rumor about GoldenEye whenever we were in junior high.
The movie or the game?
The game.
Okay.
That there was a secret co-op mode that you could unlock. And I don't know if it's true.
I want to play that.
Right, I do too. But the secret co-op mode you could supposedly play as Trevelyan. And with Nintendo's big breach that they've had within the last couple of weeks, I'm curious as to whether or not anybody's found out if that's true. Because I would think that would be like the greatest nerdist discovery in the last 25 years, right? From the data mining. But I've never seen any verification of that, and I haven't heard about that rumor in 20 years. So like 7th, 8th grade, that was the last time that I'd really heard people talking about like, you can do GoldenEye co-op.
I mean, I'm just waiting for Nintendo to re-release, because they did a re-release for the Wii.
Perfect Dark?
Yeah.
It was
like the same. I mean, I just shouldn't say the same, but
the difference with Perfect Dark was that you could spawn all the bots, and then it could be like you and whoever was on your couch against like 400 robots in Perfect Dark. That was awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, like it was the original Horde mode.
Nintendo needs to re-release GoldenEye on the Switch, because
wasn't there a rumor that was going to happen?
I don't know, but all of the dads in the world are going to go buy it, because I want to replay all of those multiplayer levels. I mean, I want to play the single player for sure, but I want to replay the multiplayer levels. I want to go to the basement, pistols only, unlimited ammo.
Yep.
There was one day that we played that. This is when I was growing up with Benjamin, my brother.
Benjamin is not his brother. Benjamin is a friend of his that can't return text messages.
My brother.
Right.
And one other person. Maybe it was William. I don't think it was.
William?
It may have been Eric.
Yeah.
But we played it. We did unlimited lives. I don't remember what that was called, but and License to Kill. So one shot. And we played that one level for like 8 hours. And it was William, because he was in first place as always. He had like 1,000 kills. I had 800 kills. My brother had like 750 kills, and Benjamin had like 30 kills. We just destroyed Benjamin for like 8 hours.
Benjamin's like playing with your wife.
With what?
with your wife. Like playing video games with your wife. That's what playing Benjamin was like.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, she would have done better.
She would have done better?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she definitely would have done better.
Mine has come around on video games a very, very little bit. But
what does she like?
She's liked Gears of War.
I remember we talked about that.
And she liked...
That's how it starts.
So
it's the same with Heather.
This is the thing that leads me back to what got us started on this.
Being older brothers.
She used to go to her friend's house, and her friend would always play the video games, and she would have to watch. She never got to play.
Yeah, you need to play.
Right? Well, I think that's why there's the rise of these like Let's Play channels and things like that, is because...
Oh, man, that was a big rabbit hole.
There's only one older sibling in a family who would dominate the game console typically, but there might be...
As it should be.
2 to 4 younger siblings that got used to watching. And so
they're just sitting there saying, "Can I play now?
Yeah,
I want to play."
Well, whenever somebody on YouTube...
We'll grow some bigger muscles, and then we can talk.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Get the controller away from me.
Yeah.
My dad had a horrible rule.
What was that? Whoever...
horrible. So we had this driveway that was like at a 90 degree... Well, it wasn't a 90 degree. It's like at a 45 degree angle, okay? So if you put a car in neutral, it's just going down. Uh-huh. And he had this rule called the wheel chalk rule. And so if we fought over a video game... then what he would do is he would take it and he would put it back behind the tire of the Suburban. And then if it could keep the Suburban up whenever he popped it at a neutral, we could keep the game. But if it couldn't, then whatever happened to the game happened to the game.
Oh, that is brutal. But it also probably taught the lesson of...
It's kept us from having a lot of arguments.
Yeah, shut up,
right?
or it's going to be destroyed.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean, psychological warrior. So that was...
That's a good rule.
That broke up
I couldn't do that because I like to play.
Well, right.
Well, there's some... Well, and it's
now,
all digital.
Yeah, I was going to say, now everything's downloaded.
I'm not going to put YouTube under the back tire.
Put your kid's hand under it. I'm going to crush...
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
That's sadistic. Don't do that. It's very dangerous and horrible for children.
My son did start a Twitch channel today. I got him a little camera for the PS4 so he can start streaming Minecraft. They're into it. It's what they're into.
Minecraft?
That's what he's playing right now, just because he got an update to it, that there's a Jurassic Park thing. It's not just that. He doesn't just play that. But
yeah, but just Minecraft in general.
He does love Minecraft.
Just is so
His
deflating.
favorite game is Fortnite, which is also deflating. But he's also 11. If we fast forward 5 years, he's gonna be in the same stuff. And he likes the Batman games like I do, and Spider-Man, and But right now, that's one that he's gonna be live streaming. I also want to control what he's able to live stream. I don't want him to put in Grand Theft Auto. I think that's okay.
But if he gets enough people on his Twitch channel, they're gonna get him convinced to play some of that stuff.
Yeah,
and then you're gonna start getting dad pressure.
Well, his handle is Tornado Cage. Kage.
I like it.
And they're gonna have to take on my name, which is Caged Dad with a K.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Caged Dad gets the override on whatever video game that they want him to play.
Yeah. That makes
sense. The guy that makes the decision is right here, folks.
Other side of the table for me is the decision maker for Tornado Cage. So, all right. So he's doing these Let's Plays, and I think that it's because we ruined a generation of younger siblings by making them think that they weren't allowed to play video games.
Yeah, that was the only access they could get is watching. So,
and so now they think that they're playing the game because we did that to them, right? Mm-hmm. And so they've just passed that down to their kids, which are our nieces and nephews and your son.
Yeah. Well, in this case, he's starting to create, which is what I've been pushing him to do.
Which is really
if you're going to
cool.
sit there, if you're going to sit there and play a game, which I don't really have a problem with, as long as your room is clean, you've done what you need to do.
Sure.
You can do whatever you want. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. But if this gives him the outlet to be creative, I'm fully endorsing that.
Even if it's Minecraft.
Yeah.
I just don't understand Minecraft. We have fought for generations for games
awesome
with
stuff.
Good graphics.
Yeah, I know.
And you go back to like Super Nintendo blocks.
I know.
Like the stuff from Star Fox.
I'll say I probably liked Minecraft for a week or two that I was kind of figuring out. And then I got over it.
I get the
quick.
idea of being able to create your own stuff and things like that.
Yeah, I made a house up in the sky. I had to build all this stuff up.
You made the Tower of Babel?
Yeah, and then it was a castle in the sky.
Okay, right.
And then built it, and then destroyed everything that was supporting it. And it stayed up there.
Hey, well done. So can you re-access it?
If you're in creative mode, because you can fly.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So I've got a good buddy of mine. And he has a son, and his son created a home, and then he decided he wanted a wife in his home whenever he was 8. And now that he's 11, or no, he's 12 or 13 now. Now that he's older, around the time that he was 11, he decided, you know what? This whole wife thing is not for me. But she continued to follow him around. And so he built a basement. She followed him down.
He couldn't stomach just destroying her.
Right. So she followed him down into the basement.
That's worse.
And then he climbed back up and floored the basement. So his wife lives underneath the floor and she's doing fine. But has for years, and every now and then.
Does he go to check on her every now and then?
Every now and then, yeah. About once a month, he'll go and just make sure that she's okay. And
her color has left.
Yeah. I know. And I always ask him, so what do you do? And he goes, I just want to make sure she's still
how's
there.
Hannah?
I was like, what Wild Bill, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And nothing. He's just making sure she's still there, because it wasn't right to kill her, which is one of the strange moral conundrums in video games.
It's just a line of code.
Yeah, sure,
but that can be applied to several
until
other things.
Until it's Alita.
Yeah, I didn't see that. But
I
know you're referencing.
I heard good things about it.
You did?
Yeah, I did.
Oh.
There's a lot of people that thought it was pretty good.
It just looked dumb.
Well, that's how most.
What I am excited about is Tenet.
Goodness.
We should go see Tenet.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, that's about to come out.
Soon.
And
today.
Yeah,
I think.
two movie theaters here locally have opened up, and I'm very excited because I get to use my Stubbs A-list again, and get to go to the movies.
We may need to go see that this weekend, depending on what you have going on.
Well, I'm about to.
You're about to
head
get
out
on a
of
plane.
town. Yeah, I'm about to get on a plane and get out of here, which I'm very
Then
excited about.
I might have to get some tickets to go see that tomorrow.
You're a jerk. You're an absolute. You're
Mm,
pitching. You're pitching going to see a movie together.
No,
and now you're gonna go see it without me.
It opens on Monday. That can't be right. I'm
That-
going to deal with this later
might
when we're
be.
not
That would be
filming
good.
a
Our producer
podcast.
would enjoy that. Don't you think so?
Kyle had to go take care of some bathroom issues again.
Again. He's not even a real producer. And I can say that because I also know he's not going to listen to this.
Kyle, if you listen to this, let us know.
Yeah. Put it in.
And if
Like
not,
and, if you listen to this, like and subscribe.
and if not, then we will we'll see you on some Tuesday.
Yeah, probably not.
But yeah, like and subscribe. We should have done this up front. I need to add this to our checklist. Go to reverendrep.com,
Our checklist
check
that
it
you've
out.
been working on for a month and have almost finished before this show in the 5
I
minutes.
started it and almost finished it 5 minutes before the
I
show.
keep meaning to make a check. We have had so many almost good shows.
Yeah, you're right.
But the biggest...
You are absolutely right.
So...
There's been some fail point at some point for like 5 shows.
And I really want to go get up right now and go check our audio in the other room.
We'll go check it. I'll
No, I can see it.
I'll go dun 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 dun
You
dun.
play the Benny Hill music,
Yeah.
which I always confuse with Benny Hinn. I always am like, oh, the Benny Hinn music, but nobody's grabbing a white jacket and knocking down all the people.
I
in
have made that
thing.
mistake before, but
Mhm.
pretty quickly I go, what's the difference?
Benny Hill was funny. Benny Hinn's a heretic.
They're
Hilarious
both-
and heretical. Both
they're-
H words.
They're both clowns.
Well, Hinn in
One is
in his later
unintentional,
years
maybe.
seems to be turning the corner and maybe moving in a direction where he might be denouncing. He's denounced part of the prosperity gospel, but he hasn't completely come around full circle on some of the other things, which, I mean, he's the poster child for all of that stuff.
I know.
And he is the cash cow for so many of the networks that he's on. And that's what I think is the most dangerous thing.
Is there a turn, by the way? Because I think TBN just dropped Copeland.
They did. They dropped Copeland in favor of Furtick, who
I don't know who that is.
He's a pastor out in Charlotte, North Carolina.
So it's just more of the same?
I don't know. I haven't listened. I'm very familiar with him. I read. I was part of a what do you call it? A test group to read one of his books called Sun Stand Still years ago. Whenever I was in Canada,
It was like the most boring beta of all time.
yeah, here's the beta group to read a book. I'm like, what are you talking about? Somebody contact the devs. This is on paper. So this is so I read that book, and several people on our staff were asked to read it and give a review of it, and it was interesting. He tends to be a little light on the gospel, is how I would put it. So there's a call to need God. There's a call that God is necessary for, or that Jesus rather is necessary for salvation, but it's heavy on belief and faith and not on repentance. And this is one of the conversations that I have continually with people, is people are like, oh, you know what, preacher, I believe in God. It's all good. And that always segues me into, like, Jesus said there are 2 things that are necessary for salvation, yet ye repent and believe. And So I'm like, man, that's great. When was the last time that you repented? Like, you believe in God, but have you ever repented of your sins? And like, well, and that's where stuff kind of gets wishy-washy. The belief in God does not mean that in our hearts we have recognized the necessity of a Savior and therefore have opened ourselves up to Christ's grace. And, you know, the way that the Holy Spirit works in a person's life and this, that, and the other, those are the things that start to break apart and get into like theologically muddy waters. Where we would just use like common church vernacular is, if you don't realize that you need repentance, there's no way for you to accept the grace that Christ has given you through the cross. And so you have guys that are like this that talk solely about belief and about faith, but never talk about the need for repentance. And what that really is it's a half gospel, right? Like I can't accept Christ's sacrifice if I only believe that he exists, but see no reason for his death. Once I come to realize I was the cause of that, then I have a better opportunity and a more, just in-depth and holistic appreciation for everything that Jesus did for me, because I killed him. Mm-hmm. And when you don't preach that, and Furtick, I've never heard him do that. And he's been accused of being essentially kind of like a Copeland 2.0. Like that these guys are the next generation.
Daddy needs a new jet.
Well, kind of. Like they're more vague. They know more about the scripture conceptually, but less of the scripture itself. And we had a conversation about this in the leadership at our church, is that we're very familiar with the Bible as a book, but we're not very familiar with its actual contents. Like, there are very few people anymore within most churches who can tell you, hey, if you were to be like, hey, what's John 3:16? Right? Like, we learned it in Awanas or RAs, or, our moms made us memorize it or whatever that was. Stone Cold. Right, yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. We could smell what Stone Cold and The Rock were cooking, or whoever it was at the time, right? So there are all of those things that are no longer in the mainstream American church tenets of what we believe and what we're teaching. And so because of that, we found ourselves in a dangerous position, because now we're finding these theologies that are being preached that are sort of on the border of, this kind of teeter-totter of whether or not it's absolute and full gospel truth. And so Furtick tends to walk that line. And so what he's being accused of, and I'll just put it that way, because in movies like American Gospel and things like that, and some of the documentaries and things that are being made right now, he's one of the ones that's becoming the poster boy for the new prosperity gospel, or the new, kind of word of faith.
So what's different
movement.
about the new one?
It's it dresses cooler.
Okay, so it's got, like you said, it's got a little more content in it from biblical content.
Sort of, it's more relevant, and really that's what it is. So guys like Kenneth Copeland started the movement, and then you're looking at guys like Furtick that people are saying kind of pick COVID. It up. He did cure COVID, and recently he said that any Christian that does not vote is guilty of murder. Okay. And using it as the same relation to, like, if you didn't vote, then you didn't make your voice known against abortion and the killing of babies. And I was like, so I want to agree with this secretly, because I don't ever want to say that I agreed with Kenneth Copeland on everything. But that doesn't mean that, he's right or wrong.
Yeah.
So all of that to say that Furtick is kind of taking this odd position, or is put in this odd position where he's taking the spot of Copeland, and people are basically, for that reason, and because some of his teaching is light on scripture and good exegesis, then they're taking shots at him and saying, hey, you know what? Furtick is essentially Copeland 2.0. He's Copeland in skinny jeans. And what we've got is
now
this,
that's all I can picture.
Right. Yeah, which is a horrible picture. But there are a lot of guys that are following in that camp. And Costi Hinn, Benny Hinn's nephew, actually talks about Furtick, because he has come out of that. He's become very Reformed now. So Reform is sort of in the same camp as Calvinists, although not. It's whatever. It's a bunch of semantics. They're essentially, they believe in 5-point Calvinistic doctrine. And so he's made this swing from being like total faith healer to now into Calvinism, and in the same camp as John MacArthur and those guys. And so his uncle that he was on staff with and worked for was the poster child for, the Word of Faith and everything that's moving. And now he's gone in the other direction and is now being, kind of set up as the enemy and, is made to feel uncomfortable at family functions and all kinds of really awkward things. So all that to say, I don't know. I don't know if this is a move in the right direction or if it's just a move in a new direction. Like, when classic rock stations realized that Motley Crue.
I knew it.
Motley Crue was 30 years old, and so they started playing that. And they're like, well, I guess this is classic rock now. And you just have to appeal to the audience that's watching, or you have to do something in order to get in a new audience. And I think that's really what it's about. I think it's less about doctrine and more about ratings. No, go for it.
I was going to say anything to get that money.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. Well, and the thing about all of these networks like Daystar and like Trinity Broadcasting Network is they're businesses. Mm-hmm. They might have a 501 so that they're a nonprofit organization, mm-hmm. but a nonprofit organization has to survive because they have a good business model. And that they are able to manage funds and manage donations and work on things as a business. So
it's kind of like what we were talking about last week with Greg Lewis. Or it wasn't last week. It was a couple days ago, really, about how God. There was the theory that John MacArthur shouldn't have sued the city of L.A. and the
state of California. The governor and the mayor. Yeah.
Because should trust that God is going to do that, even though. The argument was that, well, God works through people, and specifically in this case through John MacArthur taking those people to task and saying you can't do that.
Right. And so and their counterpoint, which I got later this week, and we didn't have time to go into it with Greg, was what about Moses? God used Moses as the voice of protest, and then God essentially sued Egypt with the 10 plagues. I was like, that's less suing and more just like casting judgment. Yeah. I don't think God's like, okay, well, here in the civil suit, these are the facts. He was like frogs.
Yeah.
You want them gone, let them go. It's a little different.
So a couple points there, or not points. I'm moving on.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's move on.
So I became aware of something today that in September of 2019, a mystery box from King Tut's cursed tomb was opened for the first time
in September of
2019.
So this is
it's a 3,000-year-old box that had been sealed in King Tut's tomb and then display, but they hadn't opened it for some reason, I believe.
Probably because of this.
Yeah, so it is interesting, that timeline of in September 2019 that this 3,000-year-old box is opened and there's nothing found inside. It feels pretty Pandora's boxy to me.
Or maybe it's Corona's box.
Yeah. But I mean, there's a million other. We talked about this before of all of the crazy things that have happened completely aside from COVID.
Kenny Rogers passed away.
Yeah, well, I take that back.
That's horrible.
I'm going back too far from 2019, but
well, no, if you're going like September of 2019 on, there's tons of stuff.
COVID is definitely the headliner of that
right
concert lineup.
At least it was for a while,
mm-hmm.
right? So now the headliner. I mean, just like with any group that starts to get old. COVID's no longer they're no longer the really exciting band.
We don't want to see a geriatric singer as
right. Yeah,
wandering around forgetting where he is.
COVID can be the afternoon headliner of the festival. They'll play right as the sun's going down before all the rest of us want to go home, so that we're not up for the late night bands with all the crazy techno music and all the jumping around and lighting of fires and all of that stuff.
Who needs that?
Well. Apparently, Kenosha, Wisconsin did.
Yeah.
Which, that whole situation there, and what that community is going through is just heartbreaking. Because they didn't ask for any of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking at something today, and in particular with Kenosha and where things are going on. So they arrested 9 people today that were driving buses into Kenosha that were filled with fireworks and bricks and all kinds of stuff.
They're gonna have a party and build a barn.
Yeah, sure they were.
It's peaceful. That sounds perfectly normal.
Yeah. So Kenosha authorities arrested 9 people that had to do with that. Well, one of the things that was pointed out earlier is people are trying to figure out how all of these folks ended up in this tiny little city in Wisconsin so quickly. That there are close to as many people demonstrating as there are people in the town. And obviously the entire town is not demonstrating. And what I've come to discover is there is a major train station that runs to Chicago that goes through Kenosha, and a lot of the people that are on both sides, right? Because then I don't want to get huge into this, but there are people that are on the left and the right that are bringing people to Kenosha.
We got to stop showing up to fight.
Oh my goodness, the militias that are coming in, like
it's escalating it.
You call it what you want to, right? Yeah. They haven't been able to stop anything, but what they have been able to do is cause more pain and harm. And I am not advocating to not defend your area. Don't put words into my mouth here, but there's a certain amount of what we're attempting to do as a nation in order to reach reconciliation that is not going to happen if we, as citizens of the United States, regardless of color or whatever, continue to feed a very destructive monster.
Mm-hmm. It does seem like
falling into that.
It does seem like in the very near future that we're going to have to start playing whack-a-mole with the National Guard.
Yeah. And
there's something that happens in Topeka. It's like, okay, all right, go there, put that out. Oh, right. There's a fire now over here in Massachusetts. Go put that out. And then now we're in Oregon, back again, and we got to go back there.
Yeah.
It seems like it's jumping around. And I don't know about you, but I kind of think the solution is the National Guard, that we're just going to have to start mobilizing very quickly and go put it out. Done.
So you've got obviously several schools of thought where that is concerned. One,
as a libertarian, I'm not super crazy about that, but
yeah, and that's
law and order is
similarly
is important, right, to me.
So when you look at something like what happened in Kenosha, and specifically in the story that we're talking about with the arrests of these people, one of the things that allows that to happen is the fact that the National Guard are there and the police are able to do their job in that area, right? So now that the police are able to focus on doing police work and the National Guard are now standing in the streets in order to protect them, now they're able to do their job. If given more of a heads up, might they have been able to do that and prevent some of this stuff in the beginning? Who knows, right? We also need to realize that there's a pattern to all of this.
That's what I'm saying.
Historically,
there's a pattern to it,
right? And so before we look at where like all of this other stuff is and the patterns that we're seeing, continually happen today, one of the biggest things that we have to look at is when people are saying, well, this is unprecedented, that the president would pull out the National Guard and do these kind of things and yada yada, and it really isn't. But the last time it happened was in the mid-1800s, and the country split in half. And that was the last time that the American military was called in order to put down types of civil unrest like this on a consistent basis. This is not an unprecedented thing. The precedent was set for it by the guy who emancipated the slaves.
So we're talking about Lincoln
had
called in the National Guard to put down.
Yeah, he called in the American Armed Forces in order to put down something.
And then after that, we had a civil war.
Right.
Yeah.
So this doesn't bode well.
And history does repeat itself, and
often.
And those that don't pay attention are doomed to repeat it,
right,
as we all know.
So there's the first thing. The second is that in these instances, specifically as they happen, where you have a black person that gets shot by police officers, we see a lot of the same things happen with both sides. And none of them tend to take much of a step back and to look at what due process is in our country, that we do have systems that are designed for this. Now, if you want to claim that systemic racism has happened since, before slavery, and that since emancipation that it hasn't improved. I think that there are grounds for that if you're looking at things like the way that Reconstruction was dismantled. So after U.S. Grant starts to do Reconstruction, and he actually has some things flowing right, that there's a lot of people in the South that aren't big fans of it because of things like crop sharing and those sorts of things that are taking land from them, because there were reparations that were paid during that period of time. And with the amendments that followed, with the 13th and 14th Amendment, you see that there are systems that are set up that allow for the incarceration of black people to be an ongoing thing. That while they were in word, given the same amount of rights, they were also, if you were to take a step back and actually look what the amendments say, they're also under way more scrutiny than any other citizens, whether they be immigrants or a white citizen of the United States. It doesn't have anything to do with, and I hate using the terminology that's being thrown around right now, this isn't a whiteness issue. This is bad legislation, all right? And that, I think, is the real problem that we're fighting right now, is that so many people are upset about something's happened with the cop. So if we look specifically at the situation that's happening in Kenosha, we have a guy that was shot by an officer. A black guy with a woman and a child in a minivan was shot by an officer whenever he was diving back into his vehicle. He was shot in the back after he'd threatened officers. Those are the details that we get immediately, and now everybody has knee-jerk reactions. Now the people that feel like this is
two sides mobilized to go to
Kenosha.
I almost said Genosha.
Right. Yeah.
Star Wars.
They go to Genosha and help fight with the Toydarians.
Yeah.
No, that's not. They're Toydarians are from Toydaria.
I don't remember what it is, but yes.
Yeah, the bug people.
Or Genovia from Princess Diaries.
Nice. So
I have great recall for like a few very specific things.
But I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So what we have
Kenosha.
So what we've got in Kenosha is the same situation that we had in Minneapolis and in all these other areas, and that is that we simply don't have enough details in order to know what really happened. And in the midst of us not having enough details to know what really happened, we are creating other situations in which we allow both sides to have hurt feelings, to have ammunition in order to fire at the other, both figurative and literal in some instances. But we're allowing for the escalation on both sides, and we're becoming puppets of a sort to the people that are promoting certain narratives and storylines. And so, like, if we were to look at the George Floyd situation, okay, everybody can see in the George Floyd situation that the guy was needlessly killed.
Mm-hmm.
What happened was he's needlessly killed, there's outrage, and the DA, which is no longer the DA in that city and in that county, puts a premeditated manslaughter charge onto the lead officer. Because of that, they can't charge him with anything greater or less unless he pleads out. Now, a couple of months pass by, and now we get the full body cams now that everything's been subpoenaed and they've been released. We have to adjust our expectations of justice, because when we're rioting in the streets, when we're demonstrating in the streets, when we're protesting, right. And so we ask for the biggest punishment, because essentially what we're going for, what we're moving towards is we are eventually going to be to a point where we're not satisfied with anything except a public execution. And so before we get to that point,
yeah, that's scary.
It is scary. And what's more scary, I think, in the situation that we're in here is that because of the mob mentality on both sides, if there is a public execution, we're not going to realize that this was a disgusting thing that happened. We're going to become bloodthirsty.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where the danger really lies. Because if one side becomes bloodthirsty, then the other side will, and we're going to see...
And some capitalist is going to go pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Let's stream it. Let's see how many hits we get on YouTube.
Sure.
It's actually not... I was going to say that wouldn't happen, but there are executions all the time on YouTube.
Right. And so there will be the potential for that, but there's also going to be if mob rule rules, Well, then you've got unregulated factions that are now going against each other and beginning to kill one another in the streets for likes and views.
Like the series Black Mirror, it's not that far off.
Unfortunately,
it's really not.
No. So looking at the George Floyd situation, the demonstrations happened and turned violent, and the DA felt the pressure to go for the highest potential punishment, which is first-degree premeditated manslaughter. Now that the entire body cam footage has come out, all of the other guys that were in Floyd's vehicle were pretty compliant with police. Floyd is obviously struggling with some things, and there's no way that you can doubt that. He talks about not being able to breathe, both when the officer's got his knee on him, but before he gets out of the vehicle. He's not following the instructions that were given to him by the officers, and the officers crossed the line. And they crossed the line in the way that they assaulted him, and they definitely crossed the line in the way that he was needlessly killed. However, it is not premeditated. You can't look at that footage reasonably and say that this was a premeditated murder. What you can look at that footage and say reasonably is that there's an escalation of emotion, that the officers crossed the line, and the officers killed a man who otherwise had no reason to die. But you're not going to get premeditated first-degree manslaughter, which means that here in a few months, when that trial happens,
it's going to get thrown out, or he's going to get a.
The officer has the potential to be able to walk. He
and
might.
That's going to
he
ignite
might
again.
go away scot-free. And so we follow this cycle. Now, in the midst of that, we have all of these little micro things that happen. People are starting to look up George Floyd's criminal record because you have people that are against the protests that are going to say, well, you guys are protesting a drug dealer or a rapist or whatever, a guy who had
a child molester.
Yeah,
or some latest stuff.
Yeah, and the other big one is like, oh, well, he's had three kids, or he's got 5 kids by 3 different women. Well,
none of those.
Yeah, none of those matter.
Are a death sentence.
Yeah,
right.
None at all. Like, so what if he lived a lifestyle that you don't agree with? He has inalienable rights as a citizen in the United States that have to be respected and have to be given to him. Well, so does the officer. And because of those
he deserves
things,
his day in court. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So we have
for due process.
We have to wait for due process. And if we're really crying out for justice, then we're not going to get justice by changing the way that the police do things first and foremost. Right. The police do things as it's handed down through the judicial system because of the way that they have to prosecute and convict. And so if we want real change, we need to be looking at legislation. We need to be looking at judicial reform before we're looking at officers' reform. Because an officer also knows that if he gets into an altercation with somebody and he loses, it could be his life. He also knows that if he gets into an altercation with somebody and he kills them, he is less likely to be prosecuted civilly than if he gets into an altercation with somebody and wounds or maims them, and that was deemed unnecessary. Which is why there are use of force codes all the way through. And why use of force is so important for training. But you can't expect, and we do this oftentimes with our police officers, we expect them to be social workers and lawyers and law enforcement agents and psychologists all on the scene at the same time. Well, they're not. That's not even, and people are like, oh, they need degrees and all that. A lot of these guys are college educated. But they're not college educated across all of these fields. And we have chosen not to put emphasis on those things. If we were putting emphasis on social workers, we wouldn't have the sex trafficking problem that we do. If we were putting emphasis on social workers, then we wouldn't have the type of system where somebody that's an orphan can get stuck in it for years on end without being able to get substantial help and in and out of the homes of people who are using that child in order to garner things from the system. And I'm not talking about any type of race or any like sort of segment of people, because this happens across all races, across all ethnicities, across all, political dividing lines and socioeconomic backgrounds. And the reason that I know that is because in my office, in every church that I've ever been at, those are the people who come in and want to talk to the pastor. Those are the people who come in and are asking the pastor for help.
The social workers.
Or asking the church for medical. No, these these kids in these situations are the parents who've had people in those situations.
Instead of having it handled already by the...
And so we've got great relationships typically with, your children's advocacy centers and things like that. But
I'd prefer to have the church handling these sensitive issues than a state...
Absolutely.
Than a bureaucrat.
Right.
So to speak.
But by the time that we're getting involved in this, it's because the system has failed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we're trying to fix a broken system by starting with law enforcement, when the fixing of the broken system is going to start with
fixing the system,
fixing the laws and the amendments in a way that they, are not changing the way that law enforcement has to enforce, changing the way that judges and DAs prosecute. You ever listen to the podcast Serial?
No.
It's brilliant.
How's it spelled?
Serial, right?
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a podcast
what
about
kind
Kellogg's.
of podcast is this? Because I do like
a good cereal.
I don't know. I was trying to think of a couple. Reese's Puffs. There you go.
You know what I used to like when I was a kid and don't anymore is Cookie Crisps.
I don't either.
I used to love them whenever I was a kid.
I like Honey Bunches of Oats, especially the crunchy kind.
Cocoa Pebbles and Cracklin' Oat Bran, still top 5 for me.
Kix is undervalued.
I do not know that I've ever had a bowl of Kix.
There's a couple others.
I do know that if you swap out Rice Krispies treats or Rice Krispies for Fruity Pebbles in Rice Krispies treats, you have yourself
you're gonna have a good time.
A much better product. Just 100% better. Oh, it's so good.
Well, hey, speaking of food,
I've
got.
Let's finish this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Those are the things that have to be fixed is with the judicial system. And in Serial and season 3,
I'm still thinking about.
Yeah, in season 3 of Serial,
rice checks. Oh yeah.
They go through and they spend a year looking at the judicial system in Ohio, and you will see by listening to it. You'll see by listening to them, involving all of your senses. You'll smell the desperation when you listen to it as you see it. If you listen to it, you'll get a really great idea and picture of how messed up this is. Mm-hmm. Because you have people that should be exonerated of charges that are pleading to lesser charges because they're being told, like, hey, we levied 8 charges against you, and we're going for this big one. But if you plead to these 2 lesser ones, instead of getting 12 years in jail, you'll get 3 years in jail and you'll get out. You'll still have a chance to see your kid. You'll still have a chance to, make something of yourself. You're not going to be in prison until you're 30.
But you get
that 17.
That felony.
But that's exactly right.
That sticker slapped on you.
You get the felony sticker slapped on you, or you plead to some other misdemeanors, and
you still lose time off of your life.
Yeah,
all because of a broken system.
Exactly, and you have these kids that are pleading to things that they didn't do, that the DA knows that they didn't do, that they know they didn't do or play any part in.
But the system is forcing it.
Because they don't think that they can fight it and win. And they're seeing that, hey, you know what? I only got 3 years in prison. That's a victory. No, it's not.
Mm.
That is a life that we have needlessly put into the system. That's a record that we've given this kid for no good reason. That's also the reason that we can't find people that are willing to cooperate with officers. It has less to do with the police officers themselves, who in a lot of these communities are really well loved, and it has to do with the judicial system and the way that if they get into trouble with an officer, the way that they'll be prosecuted on things that the officer has nothing about in his reports. And it's when we allow that cycle to perpetuate itself, that's where the real issues and the real problems are. But that's not what we're fighting. Mm-hmm. And we've got to move onto those grounds because it's not benefiting anybody.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
We need an officer to come on our podcast at some point and talk about some of this stuff.
I would love that. And I actually have a couple that I think might do it.
Cool.
Yeah. Not like a couple.
You think here local?
Like different officers.
Yeah. You got some here locally? I mean, we've got our friend.
Yes, we do. Our highly opinionated.
That should be coming on very soon.
Yeah, our highly opinionated friend.
And I know nothing about him still, and I'm so excited about that because I've just heard all kinds of things, all kinds of good things.
So there's one who is the personal protector for a local congressman who might come on, and then another that's a local chief of police that actually worked in Dallas.
Chief of police would be awesome.
Yeah, so he actually worked in Dallas on.
Can I do my Batman voice the whole time?
You could,
Commissioner.
I don't know if.
Where are they?
I don't know how much of a response you'd get from it, but you could certainly give it a shot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have as a pastor question for you.
Oh my goodness.
I started thinking about.
I think we need an intro for this.
Yeah.
As a pastor.
I am enjoying this. I'm enjoying this. Sure. So I started thinking about some of the different denominations and how.
Oh crap.
Yeah, and how maybe other things are different that we haven't discussed yet. So I'm curious. As a pastor and as a Baptist pastor.
I'm trying to find something else to do and to think about, so I'm pulling out my phone.
Yeah. When you're eating nachos.
Oh man.
Do you take the chip and go for full immersion?
Or do I sprinkle?
Or like a Catholic, do you just take some cheese and just sprinkle it on it?
Well, the Catholic would only sprinkle the cheese on it if it was a baby. It would never try to do that.
I mean, this is a newborn bowl of nachos we're talking about here.
Yeah. Well, then maybe the Catholics might.
But then that means you'd have to wait.
That's true. I would have to wait until the nachos were of age and made a proper decision
and repented of their sins,
accepted Christ's grace. Yeah.
And then you could go and get on your hands. And you need a towel.
I think
you put on those little white robes on them.
So I'm going to go with neither.
Okay.
And here's why. I don't think you should dip a nacho. I think a nacho needs to be slathered. And I don't know that
What's the difference?
Is a way
Slather
to
means
baptize.
like from a spoon and then you pour it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And especially, so my wife, we have this card game called Uncommon Questions.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the questions that, it's supposed to like keep things interesting and blah, blah, blah. So one of the questions is, what is something that you like to eat that other people find revolting?
Okay.
Right? And she's got very few things that she is like really picky about.
I don't think I would use revolting as a word for her.
Right. Yeah, never at all. But like she also doesn't, she likes chicken, she likes beef, she likes most vegetables. Like she doesn't eat a lot of weird, she eats almost anything, but she doesn't eat a lot of like weird stuff. Like, so I don't know.
Escargot?
Yeah. Like,
by the way, I had that in Paris. Oh my gosh,
really?
So good.
So yeah, she would probably try it if we were in Paris.
Yeah.
But if we were walking through, like who would sell escargot around here? If we're walking through,
if you're like at the farmer's market in downtown Dallas and some guy's got a truck with
or Market Street, one
got
of those
cooler,
cooler of escargot.
You want some snails? I mean, escargot.
Yeah, no. So, see, she would probably try it if we were in Paris. She wouldn't try it if we were at Papados, right? So definitely,
I'm with you.
Definitely
I'm with you
would
on
be her
that.
thing. But she has got me on something I haven't eaten since I was a little kid. Velveeta.
Mm-hmm.
She loves Velveeta. I am not a Velveeta person. I have not been for years.
There are a few applications that I'm good with.
Okay.
With Velveeta.
We have had you take Velveeta and then you take
Rotel.
Like Mexican cheese.
Okay.
Like the Mexican cheese mix.
Yeah.
And then a little bit of milk and a little bit of butter, and throw that into a pan. Let it heat up, and it will make the most ridiculously delicious nacho cheese. And she takes that, and this is what I'm talking about, slathers. She'll take that pot and just the entire thing of nachos. And the first couple of times she did it, I was like, oh, why are you ruining the nachos with Velveeta? And then I tried some because of the first 2 or 3 times she did it, I was like, I'm not having that. She's like, I'm going to take some. She takes my delicious ground beef that I made and put it in the ruined Velveeta. Well, now I've had it. And
I'm also embarrassed when I eat Velveeta and enjoy
like, you're
it.
in my own house.
Yeah.
Like, why? I'm fine, like, slicing up Spam and cooking that for breakfast. Like, that's something special. But she opens up a pack of Velveeta, and I'm like, honey, come on. We can go get real cheese.
Come on, honey. Oh, my gosh.
It's like my grandmother when we were growing up.
You are so weird.
Yeah, why are we eating
Oh, this
Velveeta?
is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there have been a few times in our young marriage where I've been like, hey, you want to make some Velveeta nachos?
I mean,
So I think with nachos you have to be a slatherer, but I don't know that there's a denomination that would say that they slather as baptism.
I'm sure. Maybe that's the Methodist way.
Yeah,
no,
but they sprinkle at an earlier age. There's an old joke that like the droughts in West Texas got so bad that the Baptists were sprinkling and the Methodists were using a washcloth. Which is a horrible church joke, but
yeah, that is a. See, I'm trying to. I don't know how I'm doing yet, but I'm trying to make some churchy jokes that can also get like a good, thoughtful answer. Because so far we've gotten it every time where we laugh. Ha 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 ha. Well, let's talk about baptism.
Which one of us laughs like that?
I don't know. Both of us. Probably.
G.K. Chesterton.
Yeah, probably. I'm probably that. Man, I just totally lost my train of thought.
That's okay. And it happens. It derails.
Oh, Velveeta cheese.
Yeah.
So I haven't found I know it's out there, but I have not found yet a better queso than just freaking Velveeta.
Velveeta and Rotel.
Like Velveeta, Rotel. Like you said, I'll brown some ground beef, toss it in some chili powder, a little cayenne.
Yeah.
Maybe some cream cheese.
Yep.
It's just the best. And then like my sister one time,
which is disappointing.
Yeah,
it's the best.
Yeah, I know. One time my sister made like a 5 cheese, and it was like a nice one.
Yeah. Not as good.
Not even good. Like I was like, "Where's the Velveeta?" And she was like, "Well, this is real cheese." I was like, and it's like, I love you, but this is not queso.
Yeah, like you can use real cheese and like mac and cheese if you want to, and that can make macaroni and cheese incredible.
Maybe that's what she did, was mac and cheese with. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay, mac and cheese with Velveeta.
Yeah.
I like it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm ashamed to say it, but mac and cheese, homemade mac and cheese. I don't want it out of the box.
Right.
There's not a whole lot of difference, but Velveeta, some dehydrated milk or the condensed milk.
Condensed milk.
Oh my gosh. So good. Garlic powder, pepper, unbelievable.
So we're going to be selling Danley's recipe book for
the whole
homemade
time.
Velveeta recipes here on the website soon.
It would be Mrs. Gibson's.
Mrs. Gibson's.
Came from my mom.
Oh, yeah. Ragin' Majin's Southern recipes. That sounds good. It'd be better if it was...
I've stolen a lot of recipes. When I say stolen, I asked her.
Does she have a lot of like Louisiana recipes so we could call it Ragin's, Majin's, Cajun's Delights?
Yes, that's definitely going to be a book name.
It's going to happen. Also, I put like...
Ragin's, Majin's, Cajun dessert.
Yeah. I put a lot of possessive S's in places that they didn't go. Ragin's, Majin's, Cajun's Delight.
It's amazing. I love that idea.
Like Squirrely Dan. What's you guys ups to?
That's what I likes about yous.
Yes. No more questions for the pastor?
I don't have any other pastor questions.
That makes me feel good that we've answered all of your pastor
I'll have more.
questions.
I just have to keep thinking about it.
Yeah.
How are we doing on time?
I mean, we're good whenever, man.
I'm happy with that. I have more topics, but I think...
Did we slay it? Did we kill it?
I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
We got to end on a high note. We're laughing.
We did.
Talking about Velveeta. We're both embarrassed. That's a wrap.
Okay. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching this episode of The Reverend and the Reprobate. Brought to you by... Empty Weekends.
No. No, brought to you by Mom's Turn.